Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman and Base. The last part we took out Tenguman, Groundman, and Pirate Man, and now it's time for our last three Robot Masters, starting off with the guy who inspired that one guy from Battle Network 1, Magicman. That's from Adventure Time, isn't it? I watched like the first three episodes of that and then had other things to do. Either way, Magicman loves to amaze people with magic and tricks and has recently practiced fortune telling. Good point, he's a hard worker. Bad point, he's a show-off. Well, you kinda need to be if you're a magician. Likes cheers and dislikes revealing too much. And this stage sucks as Megaman, not as much as Tenguman's stage does, but... well, let's put it like this. Everything below me right now is instant death aside from those platforms. I don't even think you can get up to that thing unless... I don't think you can get up to that thing in general as Megaman. Let's just say this stage really sucks as Megaman, but if you're playing as base, you can thankfully dash jump over a good amount of it. Though if you're a bit more safe like me, you'll probably still take the original route. Don't stay on that, because that will kill you. In fact, you know what? That kind of summarizes Megaman and base. Don't do that. That'll kill you. Those will eat you. Those will blow you up, and those are just dicks. Oh, and hey, the Clownman mini boss from Mega Man 8. See ya. Yeah, the thing is with boss doors like that, you don't need to be standing on the ground to be able to go through them. You can dash through them, no problem. But yeah, if you can't tell, this stage reuses some resources from Clownman stage in 8, albeit shrunken down slightly, because one thing you might notice actually about this game by now is that while it uses 8 sprites, they are slightly condensed and changed, and it's the zoom and the aspect ratio is that of 7 in terms of how zoomed in the camera is. Also, don't do what I'm about to do. Don't go up the left, go up the right, because all that's left up to the left is a CD, which I already have all of them. For some reason, whenever I see a kind of room like this in a game, my first instinct is to go up the left, probably because there's usually hidden stuff up there, or because it's the safer path. So, whoops. The green soldiers do the exact same thing they did in Mega Man 8 2. They'll hold on to you. They won't damage you until I think a good amount of them get on. But mostly they're just there to stun you until something actually that can damage you touches you. I like the theme though. This song is actually very carnival-y-ish. That's a word, right? Carnival-y-ish. On the whole... oh, that was a voice correct. On the whole, I think Mega Man and Base's soundtrack really is good, but I have a hard time remembering some of it, especially in Super Nintendo, just because I'm so used to hearing the Game Boy Advance tracks. It's one of those soundtracks that I'll hum along with while playing, but if I'm not playing it, I probably won't remember it. Mostly just because it's stuff we've kind of heard before in terms of the Mega Man series. We've heard these kind of songs done before. Like the first carnival-y-ish, there I go, using that word again, song in the Mega Man series was probably Spring Man. Oh, and hey look, they even brought back the bell ringing from Clownman's stage. Thankfully, this time there's no random blocks that you have to go through in order to find a way to, no random block puzzles you have to find a way around. Here it's just rotating spike blocks. Though I'm looking at them now, I don't think they actually rotate, unless they do it in like 2 frames. It looks almost more like they are just switching the spikes. I do wonder what kind of budget this game had in comparison to the mainstream games. I probably could find that on like the Mega Man knowledge base, but I don't feel like looking it up. Either way, it's time for Magicman to get out the Tengu Blade. And I'm not sure what does more to him with the Tengu Blade. The dash attack with base, the blade, or the actual slice. I want to say it's the actual slice because that gives him that stun animation, which means that he'll then reset his pattern of throwing cards more often than not. Yeah, he throws a card after every single time you hit him with that, so if you just know to jump line like me, you should be fine. Magicman, though, as you can see, doesn't get a chance to do much because of that lock-in. I've never been entirely sure of his pattern because I always go in this weakness order. Yowza, shooting a bit faster, base. That's actually because there's a ceiling in this room, causing the shots to be able to respawn quicker. Magicman stage, though, if you're playing as Mega Man, it sucks. Base, not so much. The boss can be annoying, but as long as you have the lock-in, he's pretty easy. And for beating him, we get that card attack. He was using Magic Card. This is a pretty interesting attack, in the fact you can aim it up or left and right, and it'll drag back health from enemies first off, but it can also grab items in the ground or beyond walls and bring them to you. So say there was like, an extra life, even though those are very rare to find in stages in this game, behind a wall, you can use that to grab it. For the most part, they like to hide those kind of items beneath, like, spikes or in the ceiling, though, less so than walls. And, of course, right now we're just going through more of these to access the final area and get more bolts. Though you can break that little puzzle there with base. You're not supposed to be able to jump up there with Megaman, which they didn't quite think about when they gave base the double jump, did they? But in case you're wondering how you're supposed to do that with Megaman, you're supposed to stand a certain distance away and just fire the Tengu Blade away so that it'll end up hitting the box on the way of bouncing through the walls. But with that, there's only 2 more Robot Masters to go, and they're on the center path, and honestly, that's the path I recommend going last, no matter who you are, just because the stages can be annoying, as can the bosses. But first, we're going to go in the shop, because now the 3rd tier has unlocked. In terms of what we got here, on the bottom left, there's the Energy Saver, which causes your special weapons to consume less ammo upon use, the Damage Absorber, which slightly refills your HP every time you take damage, not by much, the Super Armor, which reduces the amount of damage inflicted, and the CD counter, which just counts the amount of CDs in the stage with the comp link on top. And in terms of base's exclusive items, we got the Strong Buster and the Hyper Buster. The Hyper Buster basically turns base's Buster into Megaman. It can shoot through terrain or walls. But the Stronger Buster is what you want, or Super Buster in this case, because I think I'm playing Game Boy Advance. What it allows you to do is it basically turns any of base's individual shots into Megamans, and it's great. You're so much more powerful now. It'll make things so much easier. Either way, time for our next quote-unquote new Robot Master, because it's Astroman again. Astroman, by controlling dimensions, he can create virtual cosmic space. Good point, humility. Bad point, he's bashful. Likes wishing upon stars and dislikes cheap humor. And his stage, while entirely different than the original one in 8, is still weird and still kind of easy, especially his base, because there's one gimmick in this game, well no, in the series rather, that returns in this stage, and it's one nobody likes at all. I like the background though, that kind of weird hyper city look. Also, these things are bombs. I think I showed them off. Actually, yeah, I did show them off earlier when I got the Wave Burner. You could use the Wave Burner on them to blow them up. There's a CD behind there normally. And you actually can reset your CD progress at any point in the save menu by doing, I think it's L, R, start, and select. I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's a lot of shit you have to recollect, but it's there. And time for a puzzle. Jump on the lights that are lit in that exact order. If you failed, the thing on the top shoots 2 volleys of bullets. Nothing too bad. Now, one thing I kind of went over earlier is this game's plot, but one thing I forgot to do is that there's actually a story in the English manual. So let's go over that. A declaration of crime from the criminal. A surprise declaration has been received from the man that took over Wile's base. I say Wile because they spelled it with an E again. This message reveals that the illegal trespasser is King. King states that any robot who proves himself superior to human beings should rule the Earth. King goes on to include a threat to steal robot data from the museum. Officials are taking statements and threats with the most extreme seriousness. Megaman and Base are sent out on the double to investigate. Yeah, because that's actually a thing. Megaman and Base's campaign are supposed to be happening at the same time, essentially. Oh, and hi, reappearing, disappearing blocks. I can fly, so screw you. As Megaman, this section sucks. Another reason Megaman is inferior. Also, I think there's a CD section to the top left of that room, but it's not worth going into. I really am not sure if I'll ever do a Megaman playthrough this game, because for completeness I probably will, but not for a long-ass time. Also, I did a double jump there because I didn't expect to land on it. So now I have to do a new pattern. Great. My main thing about the Mega Man playthrough is that nothing really changes except the game is harder due to Mega Man's limited abilities. Well, more limited abilities. And because I don't think it really warrants a second playthrough. Maybe I do it as like a live stream kind of thing, but aside from that, I don't see it happening for at least a long while. Also, I hate these block platforms. As you saw, one of them killed me earlier. They're really cheap because you can't know where they are until they already kill you. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Either way, it's time for Astroman, so get out your magic cards. And prepare to play some traps. Astroman plays somewhat similarly to his Mega Man 8 incarnation, except I don't think he has that giant meteor attack. He still likes to move all over the place with his overly large sprite for the room, send down his orbs, which will move in a certain pattern, shoot down his orbs individually while leaving copies of himself that'll do the exact same thing. And something I think they replaced his meteor attack with is this, where he'll go to the ground and summon 3 of those trap enemies you saw earlier. He's immune to weapons when he's not summoning them, so as long as you can keep that in mind, you should be able to get his HP down very quickly. Problem is, as you can see, I suck at dodging him. So I died and had to come back, and thankfully there was a thing for me to get ammo for magic blades. Words. That's not magic blade, that's magic card. Overall, a somewhat annoying boss, I'm gonna admit, but honestly, compared to some of the other bosses, he's still more simple. It's just the fact that his sprite is too large to dodge in some formations. I think the room was also smaller in Game Boy Advance, but that could be my mind playing tricks on me, because the Game Boy Advance did not need to be zoomed in that much. Mind you, they probably did that to keep the aspect ratio, but either way, let's get back on the topic. Since he doesn't have his Astro Crush attack, we're not getting that this time around. But instead, Mega Man and Bass get a completely new ability. Based off his own ability of being able to leave copies, we now have copy vision. Essentially what happens is that you whatever character you play as, when you press the button, leaves a ghostly copy of you who continuously fires forward, and then you can move around your own, but you cannot do your main like charge shots or burst fire. You only shoot one small, weaker pellet. But it's going to be useful against our next Robot Master, Dynamoman. Dynamoman. The power generator in his body is too high to sustain the electric current from leaking out. That doesn't make grammatical sense. I'm just going to assume that translation errors. Good point, he's honest. Bad point, he's incredulous. Likes pump off? What the hell? And dislikes social intercourse. So is an introvert. I can identify with that. And his stage is probably the overall hardest. For both characters, that is, because, let's be honest, Tenguman, looking back, is hard mostly for Mega Man and the screen crunch in the Game Boy Advance version. And some of the other stages, their issues just come from what character you're playing as. This is the overall hardest for both, in my eyes, just because there's no real way around some of the problems, unless you know the level design ahead of time, which blind players will not. First off, the main gimmick is this conveyor belt. This shows up in a few more rooms than it probably should, honestly. The way it works is that the longer you're on it, the faster it will move. And there's a CD on this thing later on that's really annoying to get. It's later on in the stage, like right before the boss even. And it's on a platform below spikes. So there's a problem there, can't really jump, at least jump high. And it's constantly moving towards a ledge, so you need to be able to save it in time through whatever method you find necessary. Though notable, the conveyor belts do not move when you're on top of an ice wall on top of it, or at least they don't count as you being on them, so they'll slow down and eventually stop. Also, this is just a CD room. I came up here just to get those bolts, really. Because I usually have pretty good luck getting giant bolts from these guys. Usually is a keyword, though. I do wonder, given that they actually very apparently put a good amount of effort into giving Bass a unique moveset in this game, why they never did that again. Obviously, they did Mega Man 9 and 10 with the different characters in that, but, like, think about it. Who wouldn't buy, like, a Proto Man-only game or a Bass-only game? That would be really cool. Oh, and time for an annoying mini-boss. You might think the main target are those turrets on the left and right, but no, it's the thing they spawned out of. We need to kill those, and then we can... Well, actually, no, we can still kill the turrets on the left and right at any time. But our main target is the spawners on the top left and right, because whenever you destroy more of these things, another respawns. Movesets, I think, depends on what the side they're on is. Like, I think the right does the little blue eye thing, the left does the slime. Once the spawners start getting lower on health, they start doing the attack they're about to do, where they just fire a giant screw-you laser you can only jump over in a certain portion. It's actually surprisingly tricky to time, but as long as you can keep an eye on your health, this fight isn't that hard. It can be annoying, especially with how kind of picky the timing is to dodge that laser. but annoying is different from hard. And once you destroy the spawners, you do have to destroy the current set of turrets. Like so. And now for a darkness gimmick. Great. It's pretty simple though. Basically, just let the light go around the room and you can memorize what's where. Stay away from spikes, obviously, and you should be fine. I do wish it moved slightly faster, but that's part of the challenge. If you know the level design, though, you can basically just say, hey, screw off, I'm gonna go this way, and then you win. They do try to trick you by, like, having drops over spikes, but as long as you have the sense of a gamer, you probably should be able to figure out that there's gonna be spikes in an area when you drop down that you can't see. Though this light makes a really annoying sound. Oh, and I like that little trick there. You might think to try to just jump up to where the ladder is, just to save some time, but no, they put spikes in your way. That's kind of clever, but also evil, and I don't like it. Screw you, game. Also, fireman metals. These things showed up in the intro stage, and they're probably my favorite metal design just because of how cute they are. Oh god, moving too fast. I like Dynamoman's theme, though. I can't exactly tell what my favorite song in the game is. I have a feeling I know, but I have to rehear it again once we get to it. I do think they tried to be a lot more strategic, but also kind of evil about enemies in this game, because if you think about the way that some of them work, they require you to be using a certain character to have an easy time with them, like these things. Base is going to have an easier time with them just because he can aim in any direction he wants except down. Whereas Megaman, he's probably only going to be able to hit the top one unless you use some items just because of how low the other one is. Though I forget how high his charge shot goes. That's where the CD was, by the way, in that little thing above below spikes. I don't like that. Either way, time for Dynamoman. He's weak against copy vision, and it's really awkward to hit him with. Dynamoman is probably the most agile boss in the game, purely because he likes jumping and dashing all over the place. The main point of this fight is that you're not really trying to hit Dynamoman as much as you're trying to just lead him into his weakness, and while you dodge his attacks. Some of his attacks are easier to dodge than others. Like this one, if you don't know where to go, it can very easily hit you, and there's this one attack he hasn't done yet, where he sends like an arc of electric balls at you. Here it is, and this is really annoying to dodge. The balls will focus on a copy vision if it's there, but otherwise, they're going after you. Oh, and this sucks. Whenever Dynamoman does this, he heals a large portion of his health. As base, that's not too annoying because we can aim in any direction we want anyway. As Megaman, he's probably going to recover 3/4 of his health there. I don't like it. Healing bosses that can heal that quickly should not be a thing in games unless it's hard mode. And it's just kind of stupid. Dynamoman, not a fan of his boss. Though I like his design, that's pretty cool. And for beating him, we get a fairly familiar power. Although it's a different name, it's basically Astro Crush. You use it, lightning bolts swarm all over the screen, and you basically nuke anything that's on it. It sounds useful, but really, its ammo is fairly sparse, so you're gonna want to conserve it for any time you really actually need it. And I'm forgetting what it's called. Probably Electric Spark if I had to take a guess. Lightning Bolt. Wow, that's even more generic. I do like the way it looks, though. Although, if I recall, all of the weapons have slightly different coloring depending on who you're playing as. Like, I think it's a red fire for Wave Burner with Megaman and such. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 4, since we're done with the Robot Masters, we're moving on to King's Castle. See you guys then.